back to the Chicken for Breakfast podcast, where we have all the answers to one very simple question.
What's cooking?
That's right. Today's guest is a very dear friend of mine. It's a really cool story how we met. Ryan, what's up, man?
So glad to be on here. It's my first podcast, and I'm really excited to have a little conversation here.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. We've been trying to make this happen for a very long time.
Yeah. Usually it's a lot of talk, and eventually we pulled out the calendar and we made it happen. Here we are.
This is true. So yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for making the time.
Absolutely.
It's a long drive.
Yeah. I'm coming from the heart of Amish country, just so you know. Like, it's some serious Amish country.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought this up because I talk about it and it's like a whole thing here at the studio. Like, oh, Johnny's from Amish country.
Yeah.
So it's really fun.
Usually, a lot of questions, crop up with this whole idea. Like, do you have internet? Do you have electricity?
Absolutely.
How do you function?
Are you Amish?
I'm not Amish. But I mean, I've lived in that community for a long enough time that I feel like I'm almost like an honorary Amish or Mennonite, in some fashion.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tell you what, we just moved to a small town in Amish country, and when people go to Amish country, they'll go to like Berlin or something, kind of this touristy area. Where we moved, it is as Amish as you can be. I'm talking like there's only like 3 other English houses in our community. Every single neighbor, like from several houses down, are straight Amish.
That's is that a lifestyle change for you?
It is a lifestyle change, and in this case, the stereotype is correct. We do not have traditional internet access because they did never lay cable down that street because there just has not been enough clientele to use it. So I feel kind of isolated there.
Interesting.
Yes.
I will say Amish country is very beautiful. I think
it is gorgeous.
People miss it. It's a very beautiful place to live, especially in the fall, man. I love the.
Oh yes, the leaf peepers come in pretty heavy.
It's I think Amish buggies like the
sound. Oh yeah.
So
hear that late into the night. Yeah.
Someone can finally relate on this conversation. It's dope. Dope.
We could probably do a whole podcast just on the Amish lifestyle. I don't know how deep we want to go back on this one.
100%. Well, and it's also, I don't know enough about it. I think I've only seen enough to, see the not Amish side of it, if that makes sense. But yeah,
proxy. Yeah.
let's get into it. So, Ryan, let's talk about how we know each other and kind of your mission, I guess, and the reason you're on today.
Yeah. So Johnny and I met in high school. So we were not classmates, but I first met Johnny. He was in the line for the cafeteria, and I've been going to the cafeteria a number of years now, and just kind of getting to know kids and building relationships there. And Johnny had this level of enthusiasm that I had never seen before in a student. And we didn't know each other from Adam, but like I was just kind of by the line. He was waiting there, and he was just like, yes, today's a good day. Like, yes, okay, dude, what's going on? Like, and just kind of started talking to me, just kind of like started vibing. And I was just like, oh wow, like normally I have to like awkwardly sit down at a table, try to like spark a conversation. I get a lot of weird looks, kind of like, oh, what are you doing here, whatever. But like you were like very enthusiastic.
I didn't know that until this moment.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't realize that. That's kind of fun.
I'm pretty sure that was the first time we met.
Yeah, I kind of have a vague memory of it where I was, and I think it kind of sparked because I saw you.
Yeah.
I saw you regularly, and I didn't know who you were.
Sure.
Respectfully, most people don't, right? And like I would always go in that second line. We always had 2 lines going.
Yep.
One was pizza, the other was like chicken nuggets.
Yeah, the generic.
Yeah, your A/B option. So I was always going in that far line. They always had the best one. I don't know what it was. It was like calculated.
Yeah.
But I kept seeing you around, and high school was a fun experience. I think, especially freshman year. And it's an interesting place that we're here now.
Yes, all these years later.
having a podcast is cool. And the reason having a podcast is cool is because people kind of, unless you're directly talking about experiences, they kind of build your character for you, right? There's like a facade of this is who, Johnny is, or in this case, who Magic is, right? So who are these people? Who is David? Who is these guests? Who are they coming on?
Yeah.
People are always painting that picture, and I'm in almost every episode, which is both good and bad, I think, sometimes. But the podcast itself has come a long way, so it's cool when someone comes on and they expose you
from when you were younger and where you kind of come from.
Yeah, and it's not a bad thing. I shouldn't use the word expose like a
I gotcha.
Yeah. So why don't we talk though, really quick? Why were you in the cafeteria? Like, what's your gig?
Yeah, so I have been with an organization called Young Life for many years. I got one of the shirts on today, and what we do in Young Life is that we go to where high schoolers are, and the cafeteria is a big part of that. We go to sporting events, and we go to theatrical productions. I've seen a number of yours.
Yes.
I'm not sure if you want to bring that up or not, but it was a ton of fun. I mean, we just go to where the high school kids are, and we just build relationships, man. It's so cool. A lot of times it's cool. A lot of times it can be awkward. It can be kind of rough. There's a lot of why are you here? What's the deal? Like, why would you be here? A lot of times I was substituting, I think, at the time too, and so maybe like kind of give like, oh, I'm a sub. They're like, oh, okay, and then that will kind of click enough. But that's not even becoming a sub. I was just trying to get more involved in the community and involved in the schools themselves, and it worked out really well. I've established a great relationship with the school. They trusted me to come in, and it was just like an amazing how much they kind of opened the doors to us to then kind of like have more access to like high school kids and really get a chance to talk to them in their elements in the cafeteria.
Absolutely. What's the motive for that? Like, why high school kids?
Yeah, so I mean, gosh, high school, man, what a time to be alive. So many big decisions are being made in high school, and so many like your life's trajectory is kind of being set for you in a number of ways. I know mine probably had been in many cases in college as well. You're really kind of coming to adulthood, and those kind of courses, the path you're kind of set will then kind of carry on from there. And it's hard to change a lot there. So we're kind of earning the right to be heard, and that's by building relationship, and then hopefully in time we get a chance to talk about greater things, the meaning of life, where you're kind of like looking for life at. Like what's kind of like the purpose, and all those kind of big questions, and eventually we get to talk about our faith and kind of where they're at on that. But the beautiful thing is that it's all kind of a lot of it is on their terms. How interested are they? We're not going in and thumping people with Bibles. We're very much so kind of like gauging people out and like earning their trust and trying to show that there's something genuine there. Because I think that high schoolers are getting a lot better at sniffing out people that are just like, oh, you're just here to kind of like, the church sent you, or like, you just want to get some numbers or something like that, kind of like just converts or something like that. And we really don't want to be about that. So
yeah, absolutely. I know I've also noticed that because you and I, we actually relate now. We're both volunteers.
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
We're both volunteers for a youth-based organization, not youth-based, but an organization based on helping teens at age 15.
Age 15.
We've done an episode with Andy before on Reverence, which was kind of a fun episode to do. But volunteering time for me, it's always going to be at home. It's always going to be a place to be. It's a hard thing to describe, I think, sometimes, especially being up here. It's why do I go down? Why do I volunteer? Why do these interactions matter? And there's just something about it when you start interacting with people. And for me, being as young as I am, I think is a plus. Right?
Sure. Oh, absolutely.
Because you can still relate on the levels, and even some of these, I don't want to say older teens, but the teens who are getting ready to kind of phase out of the programs. I went to high school with them at the time.
Yeah.
So it's both a blessing and a curse because they see you in a capacity of friendship. They see you in a capacity, and they should either way, but they see you in a capacity different, being a volunteer. But it also kind of forces you into a role model kind of thing, which isn't a bad thing either.
Oh, absolutely not.
It just feels like a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
It feels like you're an ambassador for something.
Absolutely.
Which isn't terrible.
I would say it's very important.
You're always thinking about it.
Yeah, I think so. And I can even speak on behalf of like my gay volunteer life. I was in high school just as a student. They got to experience camp and all these fun things. And it was an enjoyable thing. But then afterwards, getting involved, it completely flipped it. It turned from like hey, what can I get out of this experience? How can I have fun with my friends? How can people serve me to like, people are looking at me. They are watching me. I see these people. I see these kids, and wow, they have so much value to them. And I didn't really see that before because it was much more of a consumer mindset. But then when you volunteer, it just shifts your brain out of what's in it for me as to like, wow, how can I lift up these kids? How can I show them a different way in this crazy world?
Absolutely. I think, I don't know if you know, I was teaching some after-school All-Stars programs. Not with after-school All-Stars, but it was a program that they called All-Stars. And I would go out to these schools. Some of us here at the studio have done it regularly as well. We go out and we teach like film programs. I taught podcasting to, this last year it was 4th through 8th graders, which is quite a range.
Okay.
Of
4
students.
through 8. Oh,
Yeah. And we had a guy a couple of weeks ago who he's a teacher full time. So it's cool to see the community of, hey, I was this person, and then you see the flip of it, which is my favorite part.
Sure.
I think that I growing up had a lot of help. You included in that, Andy included in that. I have a lot of people who growing up, it was important to have connections like that. And when you see that and you understand that, you naturally start getting people gravitating towards you, right? Being a volunteer or being a person in a position that you are, just being who you are, kind of helps people gravitate towards you in a way. Some people are, some students are very skeptical.
Sure.
And then you get students like me who, that's probably why I was so enthusiastic, is because there was a gravitational, especially the bread. There was a gravitational thing about it where
the smell.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I think that there's a way that the universe, and whether you're a religious person or not, I think everything comes together for a reason, and I think that a lot of situations in life get flipped, and I think that's one that I kind of have noticed in my own life.
Yeah.
Is people like Ryan have helped me out, kind of guided me out of high school, and here I am doing something that I love doing, making connections and networking and doing all this cool stuff.
Yeah.
But also giving back and helping people in the same place that I came from, helping students in the same place, same position that I came from.
Yeah.
Just naturally kind of helping them get to the same place, whether it's film or not, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But just making sure like y'all are safe, y'all are doing a thing. It's
sure.
a great place.
Yeah, and I've been doing Young Life for a number of years, so I've seen a lot of high schoolers and their kind of approach to life. And one thing I will definitely say is like it's been really neat seeing you and your desire for connection with people. I would say that like I've seen some other students maybe that kind of have tapped into that a little bit, but like you really stood out as like someone wanting to connect, kind of take it to this other level as opposed to this surface kind of whatever. And there's never like you can never get someone's genuine self just through a podcast. Like, because there is a sense of like you're kind of putting on, we're performing right now in a certain regards, right? And so, but like it's still there's something there about a podcast that is like I want to connect and I want to share that connection with other people. That just screams your personality. Like it just makes a lot of sense. And I'm very jealous in some ways that you kind of get to go down this route of podcasting and connecting with people and telling their stories and kind of getting it out there. Even if it is like there's still a little bit of performance going on, it's still like an attempt at connection and spreading around. And it's very popular right now. Anyways, people love podcasts and trying to see a little bit lower behind the surface of what people who they are.
Absolutely. We actually, you've kind of been following the whole time from when it first started. And let me tell you, the first episode that we wrote, we had to write the whole script out.
Sure.
So you can tell if you're an OG, you can tell it was written and scripted and just read.
Yeah.
But I think you're absolutely right in terms of like, there's a level of performance.
Sure. There is always going to be.
Can I say the right thing? Can I guide the conversation? Can I
entertain?
Exactly. See? Here we are. Right? Can I entertain?
Yeah.
But there's also a level of like, we were actually talking right before you came on of, we used to do like a co-host situation. And we can still do those. David and I do, a lot of episodes regularly, whether they get released all the time or not. It's fun to do a co-host situation, but it's also really fun to bring people on, whether I have a connection already or I am looking for a new connection. And tell that story. I think when you're in the world of film, videography, even photography, just the world of art, it's about telling story.
Sure.
So not just my own, but anyone who wants to come on, and a lot of times it's about promotion.
Sure.
Telling a story.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times we find that these brands that are being created and these people, these individuals, these amazing artists that are coming on, they're all telling a story. Whether it be of their life, their backgrounds, or just, where they're trying to go. It's all important. And I think that's what's cooking.
Have you ever wondered what it's like to work on the set of a movie or TV show? Do you want to know what goes on behind the scenes of producing a feature film or a commercial? Students in the iFilm program make tons of content, including a short film, music video, promos, and a feature film. No other program develops as much content as iFilm. From screenwriting to set design, working with actors and directors, as well as post-production, you'll learn what it takes to build a career in the film industry. And we're currently accepting new students. Sign up at iFilm216.com so you don't have to wonder anymore. We'll see you there.
I love the idea of podcasting. I've brainstormed with other people as well. The tricky part is it's just another one of those things. There's so many things going on, Johnny. How about this? Have you heard of the term Renaissance man?
I would consider myself a Renaissance
So
man.
you've heard that kind of term before?
I think so. Yeah, like a little bit of everything kind of guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that traditionally, in the sense of Renaissance man, it's like someone that's like proficient in multiple like arts or crafts or techniques. I wouldn't say that I'm proficient, but I'm just so curious about so many things in this life. And I think that's so cool. I think it's just awe-inspiring when you stand back and look at how many things we get to kind of play with and like experience while we're here on this life. And so like people have told me kind of like, oh, you should do this, you should do that. Like you should go into this things like, I would love to, I really would, but I really got to pick my battles when it comes to some things. But I am open. Like if there's an avenue that opens up and like, it seems that like I'm kind of being nudged in that direction, I would do it. I just like that. Like there has to be kind of a clear enough path before I kind of like branch into it. And you can ask my wife; she will tell you like I have so many interests and I get really really excited about them. Oh, that this is then turns out hard. Like ooh, not quite what I expect. Oh, what about this thing over here? Like oh, well let's go into that and deep dive into that and watch all this YouTube videos onto that and like oh wow okay, oh yeah. Oh, what about like it's just it's like so
a rabbit hole,
yeah, it's so classic. I mean, it's kind of it's our generation. Like I'm thinking like our parents or our grandparents, they were like, I'm going to go work at the steel mill. Okay, what else are you going to do? I'm going to become one of the best steel mill workers I could ever be. Okay, yeah, but what are you going to do after that? Like, no, you don't understand. This is my life. Maybe I'm going to have a family. Maybe I'm going to have like some hobbies. But it's like, it was like so much more of a zeroed like expertise.
Absolutely.
I don't know if I'm ever going to be an expert at anything because I'm just like, I just want to kind of bite out of everything.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that though. That's a great place to be. You know, that's enjoying life, man.
I like to think so too, but a part of it is there is just some frustration that I feel like I have not really completed anything. Like, I need to start loving the grind more. I need to be more disciplined, I think. Looking at my life and my habits, I am so passion driven. And passion's great, don't get me wrong. We are in a culture of passion. We love that, chasing our passion. But there is a grind that I try to avoid, and I think that would be very beneficial. And I think that'd be the case for anyone who's getting interested in something. We need to learn to love the grind as well, and not just chase the passion.
You know, that's quite a quote. That's a good little nugget. That's a good little nugget.
Someone put that on a T-shirt.
Yeah. the next chicken for breakfast merch line.
Yeah.
Gotta love the grind. No, but that's pretty true. We've talked about this a couple of different times, and it's cool to do what you want to do, but you also have to understand, like, if you really want to get good at something, you do have to love it, but you also have to love putting in all the work.
Yeah.
Some weeks you might have 60 hours, right? Like, you can't. It's a tricky thing to be, and I'm not saying you have to dedicate, all this time and energy, but you have to take the good and the bad, and I think that's kind of the moral of the story, and that's a really good nugget of truth there. Yeah,
it's tough. I really need to take my own advice sometimes, and just kind of have a certain amount of stick-to-itiveness. I have like 5 or 6 different projects that are just hanging in limbo, and maybe I'll go back to them here and there, but I almost have like nothing really out there to show for it. You mentioned before we got on here, it's like, oh, do you have like a website or something that we can plug you? And I would love to. There's probably like 3 or 4 websites that I could have that you can like then plug people into and like create that platform and network and all that stuff. But they're all just sitting out there in limbo right now, and it's frustrating. It's very frustrating. I need to kind of stick to something and like see it through.
You are preaching the choir. It's quite a challenge balancing a lot of things.
Yeah.
I always say I'm the busiest guy. I used to say that, and then I started really getting into the studio stuff here. Now we're all just busy.
Yeah.
So I get it.
Yeah.
I fully understand.
Well, one thing I'm impressed is like you're doing these podcasts and you're putting them out there. You actually have content out there. And like, sure, it's slow going at first, and you may not get the traction you want, but you still have stuff out there. That's really cool.
That's what it's about. You could release 300 episodes before it gets traction. For us, and like there was a time I don't know if you've seen any, because I know you watch the show.
Sure.
By the way, I appreciate the the support. But we did an episode It might have been I was on someone else's podcast, but either way, I almost gave up on the podcast for a while because of what you were talking about. And then, David kind of hopped on and was like, "Nah, we got to keep this going."
Having people there.
It was a good support. David's, he's a dope dude. But the key of it is, and this is for anyone starting new things, whether it be podcasting or whatever, is just throw it out there.
Yeah.
We started doing like react videos and stuff too on the channel, like react videos where we react to like Dr. Phil episodes or Catfish the TV show, just random like TV shows and stuff, magic tricks, things like that. And we had one that hit like 700 views, and for us that's really good.
Okay.
So we had one that like we grabbed it.
Something seemed to click.
Yeah, but we didn't know that was going to be the one.
Sure.
And it's not even about being the one. It's about grabbing that community and bringing them with you.
Sure.
And that's even from day one. I've always kind of had the mindset, and I even say it in the first episode. It's like, what defines success in what we do, especially this podcast.
Yeah.
For me, it's if I make one person smile, if I make one person forget about all their problems for like 10, 15 minutes, if I just make you laugh and enjoy your day for that long, I was pretty successful. That's why I like magic tricks.
Yeah.
Because for a second, you weren't thinking about your life. You weren't thinking about anything good, anything bad. You were focused
kind of in that
on
moment,
this entertainment aspect. You were focused on what's, this alternate reality. I think that's why I like film so much.
Yeah, and that could open up a whole interesting conversation of entertainment. That'd be really fun to dive into. But first, I want to talk about something you mentioned earlier. You had one episode that seemed to click a little bit more than others. And I think this is so true for artists and content creators in general. Like, something that you have in mind as opposed to what just so happens people want. And like, sometimes that doesn't align, Sometimes, like, maybe you do an episode, it's kind of an offshoot, but it becomes very popular. But it's not really what you had in mind for, like, the podcast or kind of the story you kind of want to tell. So now what do? Do you kind of tailor it more towards that audience to get more engagement, or do you stick through kind of your original vision? I mean, that is the age-old question all artists and content creators are trying to figure out, like, am I doing it to express myself and kind of just allow that space to, and like maybe people come along eventually, or do I tailor it to what people are looking for in this time and space?
Absolutely. That is the age-old question, especially with the world being filled with social media, which is kind of surprising that you don't have social media being in the,
I have some.
The mindset that you're in.
I know, yeah.
And that's not a bad thing. That's probably a healthy choice. That's probably the healthiest choice I've ever heard.
Yeah.
But when we started doing these other forms of content, one of the big things, we've always agreed, no matter where the channel goes, no matter what we start doing, the podcast is always going to stay this. We're not shifting away from that content, because this is the bread and butter. This is the foundation.
Yeah,
this is where it all started. Absolutely. Now, when you're doing like other types of videos, right? When you're doing, whether it be react videos, or you're doing, one thing we started doing is like gaming videos.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
As much as I don't know if you're play video games or anything, but like as much as like I would enjoy watching and playing Skyrim.
Yeah.
That game's about 10 years old.
Yeah.
So it might not be as popular as something that just released like a month or two ago.
Sure.
Say, I don't know, name a video game that just came out recently. Even Fortnite is probably more popular.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that one's got
right. So there is a level of accommodating to what people want to see, but for us, it is kind of finding that balance of, okay, how can we produce content that people do want to see, but also we're gonna do what we want.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna make the content that we enjoy making. We're gonna make the content. We're gonna remember where we came from.
Yeah.
And I think if you love art, you get that.
Yeah, and it is interesting with this modern sense of artists with social media and the internet. There's so much more of an immediate feedback. We're thinking about, like, back in the day, you would have like a painter or a sculptor. You would get some feedback, but it would be limited, and maybe it would be like months, if not years, down the road before you get that feedback. Now, since we have feedback so much more frequently, and we also get a lot of like feedback that has the ambiguity or the anonymity of the internet, that they're not afraid to speak their mind. It's not face to face. That like we're so sensitive to feedback, we can't help but want to react almost in the moment. So artists back in the day got to fully kind of more so realize what their vision was and like let that just kind of speak for itself. But now we have so much more continual like feedback. We're adapting. I don't know if we can ever like purely create art that is just ours anymore. Like,
yeah, that's true. That's an interesting take. I mean, now we have a like button.
Yeah.
Now we have a comment section.
And so
now we have that's crazy.
We can't help but be molded by that.
100%.
We have to be. Like, especially with what we do. Like in the world of storytelling and social media and media in general, like there's that feedback. It has to be a part of it. Unless you do like an indie movie or something like that, and you just don't do any publicity and you show it in a private theater maybe that could be an avenue where you can maintain some of that, like, oh, I don't want like people's feedback, but
I mean, even then, you're still gonna get it, right?
you will eventually. Yeah.
I mean, I'm assuming you wouldn't show it if you didn't. See, here's the problem. This is such a good conversation, by the way. Oh
Sure.
my gosh. I think when it comes to feedback, I think we find ourselves subconsciously even thinking about what we live in a world where we care about what people think.
Yeah,
Right,
more so
right.
than ever.
Yeah, like, oh hey, did you like that? Did you like that podcast episode that just came out?
Mm-hmm.
Like, does it matter?
Yeah.
I mean, it does matter in terms of like analytics. It does matter in terms of X, Y, Z. But for us, it's like we critique ourselves more than anyone else probably
Sure.
critiques
Mhm.
us on the other side of it. But yeah, I think we're like even someone compliments my shirt, I'm probably gonna wear it
Yeah.
over everything else.
Mhm. Or if someone says something negative about your
Oh
shirt,
man,
like,
I don't like that jacket, man. Why'd you wear that? You're probably gonna hang it up.
I know,
You're probably not
I'm gonna
get
keep
it out.
wearing this one. I like this one.
Yeah, but it's a very personal. People are more sensitive.
Oh, yeah.
Can we say that? People are
Well,
way more
yeah.
sensitive these days.
And artists have always been sensitive. It's just there's so much more voices, so much more spread, and the method in which we receive that, like we can't have a conversation hardly with someone when they give feedback. It's through the veil of the internet. We can't make that face to face. And in some ways it's good. I would say most of the ways though, it's I don't know. I don't know how it's affected our art, and I don't know if just appealing to the mass hive mind of the internet is the best method. I don't think that produces the best opinions.
Well, I don't think it is either, and the reason I say that is because if you look at some of your popular content creators, and again, I don't know how hip a lot of us are on social media, but what I've found recently is that I'm on social media a little bit too much, but also a lot of the content that's going viral. A lot of times we were actually talking about it over there
Yeah.
before we came on. It's the podcasts that say the most outlandish things, or they do like they go into Walmart and they just shenanigans.
Yeah.
So content based, like there was a popular YouTuber who he went famous for live streaming like driving down the highway at like 110 miles per hour, weaving through traffic,
Sure.
just completely
Yeah.
unsafe. And like that's some like 15 minutes of fame stuff, right?
Yeah.
That's like, hey, I'm doing this thing, I'm going for the clout as they call it.
Yeah.
But then the faster, this is what people don't understand. The faster you get clout, the more likely it is to not stay up there.
Sure.
Because it all goes to your head, for
Mhm.
one. And two, you're not laying that foundation.
Yeah.
So as cool as it is, if you start extreme, you have to stay extreme
Yeah, and you have to keep amping it up.
every time.
And what
then-
type of citizens is that creating anyways? Like,
and you're sending a message.
Sure.
If you're showing kids that it's okay to drive down the highway at 110 miles per hour, someone's going to see that and they're going to do it.
Oh, sure.
That's very dangerous, by the way.
Yeah.
Don't do that. But
Just for the record.
everything you do on social media, you've got to understand how people are going to interpret it.
And you can do things that will absolutely get responses and definitely get feedback. And you can build that platform, but at what cost? Like, what type of message you putting out there? What type of person you portraying yourself as? And then you're almost like stuck in that persona. I've seen your other podcasts where you kind of talk about this, like this persona that we create and we kind of curate to then like be this person for internet facing. That's like, how much is that you anymore? I don't know. Like it's hard to say, and it just seems so disingenuous, and there's so much burnout within that. I can imagine. So,
what's going on, y'all? I'm Magic from the Chicken for Breakfast podcast, and we're heading into season 5 of the podcast on our brand new set, brought to you by Studio Zero and iFilm 216. As you know, we're gonna have our fan favorites coming back for podcast after podcast, but sometimes this chair is gonna be empty, and we need you to sit down and have a conversation. If that interests you, you'll see a button down below that says learn more. That'll just send us a message letting us know that you are interested, and we'll get you on. Let us know, and we'll see you soon. I want to talk about your hobbies.
my
I want to talk about some interesting Because you're a Renaissance man. You appreciate
Yeah, I'm like a entry level Renaissance. Like maybe a wannabe Renaissance man.
Hey man, look, you're a very interesting person.
I appreciate it. I don't want to like try to milk compliments out of you, but I do. Yeah, but thank you. Thank you, Johnny.
Absolutely.
Thank you for.
Absolutely. No, it's not.
I am a Renaissance man.
But it's like it's okay to be humble, but it's also okay to recognize you've got some talents. Like, let's talk about that for a second. This right here.
Oh my gosh,
necklace.
yeah.
It's one of my favorite things, man. I'm waiting on mine. I'm waiting on my necklace.
I thought
right
I bet
now.
you won.
Nah, man, I'm still waiting. Yeah, what's going on here, man?
Dude, you saw the box of them, right?
No, you have a box of necklaces?
Okay, no, I definitely brought a box of them into the teen center once while you were in there.
No, you didn't.
All right, we gotta get.
I want you to look me in the eye.
We've gone down this road before, Johnny, and it's been a lot of you said, I said scenario, which is great. I love it. Maybe we'll continue this off camera.
All right. I don't feel safe anymore. No. But hey, let's talk about the necklace though, because that is actually really fun. I don't know how well.
Can we do like one of these where it's like?
Oh, nice.
Can you zoom?
Nice.
Can you zoom? I don't know.
There you go. Oh, go more this way so we can kind of. Yeah. Look at that. Yeah. Ooh. So that's handmade, right?
Yes. So this is wire. So it's all wire. It was. There's no glue, no solder, and I also had to design the jig, if you will, for the wire to wrap around. So this, oh my gosh, this was so much fun. This was, to me, one of my, I don't know, like, purest expressions of, like, art. Like, obviously I was inspired by other wire jewelry. I've always had a thing for jewelry. I've always had things for, like gems and gold. I don't know, like, I'm just dazzled by them. Like, and so I'm definitely more interested in jewelry than my wife. Ironically enough, we'll go to, like art shows and stuff like that, and I'll be like oogling over like the tables with jewelry on it, and Felicia will just kind of like move on. So I'm just like, no, like, this is great, and like they always get a kick out of it. And so I've done a lot of graphic design, and I was tired of graphic design just being on the computer. And like even if you print it out, it just doesn't have the same feeling or effect of like having something in your hands like this. And so I was like, how can I take like my graphic design and bring it into more of a physical, tangible world? And so these have like geometric patterns in there. And I would like doodle stuff like this when I was in school all the time. I would get graph paper and I would just take these patterns and I would just like sketch, and like I would love it. I would love it, and just be able to kind of create interesting shapes and repetition and the like. And so I was like, how can I make this physical? I was like, well, wire is kind of like a line, like when I sketch it. And so like, can I get these wires to kind of mimic the lines on my paper? It's like, how do I get the wire to stay in the shape of here? Maybe if I bend them around these nails, how do I do that? I'm gonna have nails in a certain formation. Okay. And so like, it was just the most fun experiment phase. I have like my prototype, like my very first one, like it didn't stay together. Like I was like, oh, well maybe if I do multiple like pieces, and then like, oh, but then the nails kind of create this natural like hole in which then I can like almost like sew the pieces together. I don't know. It was just like, it was pure experimental enthusiasm and just the stages and seeing what worked, what didn't work. And like I would go to the hardware store and they would have like brass and copper, and like no one would like see that and be like, oh yeah, okay, like oh yeah, I'm gonna make all this art out of this. It's just like this hardware store bargain bin. And then I go to there, it's like, oh, what gauge is that? Like, oh, this is coded. Like, oh, this is like hardened, analyzed. Like, and so it brought this whole world out of something fairly mundane that you would just find in a hardware store. And like, then I would take these nails and put them in boards and put them in different like formations. And I would actually take the graph paper, make the shapes on there, and then like use it as like a guide to then put the holes on the wood. And then I would put the nails sticking out through it and then wrap it around it. Fantastic. I don't know why. It's just like pure joy.
This is like
creative enthusiasm.
This is like a primitive
so
excitement.
good.
Like this is how they felt when they created fire for the first time, man.
I don't know. Like I mean, and I do stuff now. I still create and do stuff, but like there was no tutorial. There was no YouTube on this one. So I think that's why it was so uniquely interesting. Like I really had to come up with the ideas and brainstorm and come up with creative solutions, and I never really expected it to kind of come to what it did. Now, obviously, this is imperfect. It has some flaws in some regards. It catches on a lot of things. Sometimes it can get a little bit misshaped, but still, like I would say, this is probably one of my better successes, if you will. Like, what will come of it? I don't know. Like, do I need to come up with a patent for like the process? I don't think you can find this stuff anywhere as far as I know, but like, I don't know what to do with it. Like, is this just a joy that I share with people? Like,
there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, well, and that's kind of what I was talking about earlier. It's just like, am I okay with just letting this thing be a fun thing between family members and friends? Or do I need to like market it and like put it out there and make it into a company? You know, like there's that temptation there. Cause like, I would love to like monetize it and make some money of it. And, you know, I've sold them here and there. I've tried putting them on Etsy a little bit and this, that, and the other. But like, am I okay? Just like, let this just be a fun thing for you to do and share with people. Am I okay with that?
That's a good question.
And I think I need to be, you know, to a degree. There are some things that maybe it can become something down the line. I don't know, but like, it is a fun thing, and like, I wear this a lot, and it does become almost like a staple of like, oh, it's Ryan. Oh, he's got that one thing. Like, oh, I need to ask him about that. And it creates stories. It creates connections.
It's like
that's always
like
kind
a
of fun.
Nathan Drake situation.
Yeah. Yeah, like always wearing the same.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen you without the necklace. Let's be honest.
Fair enough.
I don't think I've ever seen you without the necklace. Until you just took it off, I thought it was part of your body.
Oh my gosh, it was like growing out of the back of my neck.
No, it's very cool. And now that I know the backstory behind it, it's even cooler.
Yeah,
Let's be real.
I've not done these in a long time because the muses keep calling me, Johnny. Now, I would love to get back into it. It's just a fun thing to work with your hands with. My happiest places is working with this and listening to an audiobook or listening to a sermon or listening to whatever the case may be.
Chicken for Breakfast podcast.
Yeah, a podcast. Yeah, there you go. I have like the story of like the audio kind of sensation, but I also have like the physical, tangible thing to kind of go with it. It's multiple senses. Like it's a great time. It's a great time.
So let me ask you that, because this has come up a few times. Why like an audio vocabulary language thing rather than music?
Oh, I'll listen to music too, but oh man, this could lead to a whole conversation. But I feel like I am so drawn to audio right now and information, and there is this sense of like I want to know more things because I have so many interests. So let's fill that downtime with some type of information, some type of noise that I'm now learning something by.
That seems kind of counterintuitive, though.
It does.
Because now you're getting more information.
I know.
You sound like David right now.
It is an issue. I need to be more comfortable with silence. I do have some spaces where I've tried to keep silent. Like the first time I go into a car, I won't play music. I won't play a podcast. I'll just like sit in silence to kind of think. That's kind of a general rule of thumb, as opposed to always wanting to fill my life with some type of noise. That's
scary, man. I don't like that.
You don't like the silence?
I don't like that idea. That's a terrible idea.
Oh no, it is scary, and it's not fun for most people. Like they want some type of like stimulation. They want something to engage their minds, and it's definitely this entertainment-driven society that we always need to be kind of doing something and keeping our mind busy with something, because like heaven forbid, like our mind wanders into like more serious matters, and like, oh man, that relationship, that's kind of tough.
Mhm.
Like, you know what, I'm gonna listen to this song, or I'm gonna listen to this podcast. You know what I mean? It helps kind of avoid kind of what could be a difficult thing. And
So you're not using it as a vice or distraction. You think it's like, I need that silence. I need that thought.
I do think it's important. I think that if my brain is always just ready to listen to something, then it's never going to kind of like have this introspective kind of like processing prayer type time. That just doesn't happen. If my brain's always like, okay, what do I need to listen to next? But I still do that. I still fall into that trap. Where I'm just listening to like YouTube. I think YouTube's great. I've learned so much from YouTube. I think it's a beautiful tool that can do a lot of good, but there is a trap there that is so strong, and I have fallen into it, and I'm just like basking in the bottom of the trap, kind of just like, feed me more, like give me more content. Yes, I want that. You nailed it. Okay, let me listen to it.
So in that case, you probably shouldn't get social media.
Maybe.
It's gonna ruin you.
Yeah.
It's gonna ruin you.
So like, I have like a Facebook, but like my rule is that I don't post.
Oh, have you ever seen Facebook Reels? It's a
So,
dangerous world.
I am a consumer of social media. Facebook and YouTube being the primary case. I'm not a poster.
I'm not a poster.
Yeah.
Poster. Someone who posts.
I'm not someone who posts. There's nothing wrong with posting, but like, to me, in my mind, that's the line of like, okay, I did post a little bit, and I was just astonished by like how much of that feeling of likes and views that I got. Like, there was just like this like, ooh, somebody liked what I posted. Like, it almost like this little heart, like get that like a little taste of serotonin. I don't know, like, yeah. And I could tell like immediately, like, I was like, okay, there's something here. Like, I need to be careful.
Yeah, that sounds like a villain origin story that you're starting.
I know. Had I fully engaged, I would be. Yeah.
See, I've never viewed it like that, but that's an interesting concept of like, you know, when you're making content on YouTube, and you know, we've had this conversation several times too, but like, you want to go for those likes. You do. Like, if this video gets 15 likes, X, Y, Z, like you're always kind of reaching, always kind of stretching.
Whether you say it or not, yeah.
Yeah. You know, it goes back into that conversation of when you're trying to keep it real, but you're also gotta accommodate. And your main like gray area there is the feedback. And the best way to do that, like you said earlier, is likes. Yeah. So, you know, it's one of those things where, are you comparing likes or are you searching for them? Is what it comes down to. Because I think of social media like a machine. YouTube analytics like a machine. Oh yeah. Right, where it's like, if I put 1 and 1 in, I should get 2. And then I can take that 2 and I can put in another 2, and now I get 4. Sure. So I'm creating a system that makes sense. But what happens is, I put in a 1, and I'm looking for like 1,000. And then I put in, you know, another 1, and then I want to get 36,000. Right? It's like, that's not a system. That's not how it works. So I think it's okay to be like, oh, you know, like, I know chronic Facebook users. Absolutely chronic. Like, I gotta post, you know, I'm not gonna name drop, but I know so many people that like, I gotta stay off Facebook. Yeah. Just because, you know, I don't need to know about all these problems going on. Oh, sure. Life. Yeah. I don't need to know about, you know, what you ate for breakfast. Was it chicken? Exactly. Now, I will say it's becoming one of those things, right, where I want to post the things that I do, but I don't want to post it in terms of like, hey, look at me, I'm doing film, like this you know, all this jazz. But it is like, it starts to become a staple where it's like, if I never post, I won't network. Yes. If I never post, you have to build a platform. You just do. Like, that's the reality. It's a hard thing. It really is. And I mentioned like all these interests and stuff I have. I know that like, I'm going to have to make some hard dives into the internet realm and the social media realm.
if I ever want to get any of this stuff out there.
100%.
Like I just know that's a reality, and like I'm kind of done a disservice to myself by not posting. If I want to engage in the platform world, like I've set myself up for failure. So like it's okay to not be in social media. It's okay to not post. But in my line of work, in our line of work, like you better have like a publicist or something like that. You have a professional person to like do that for you if you really want to be that stubborn. And like say like, no, it's not for me. I don't want that. Like, I don't want to fall into that trap, into that world of feedback. It's like, well, guess what? That novel that you're writing, like, is it going to get anywhere? Like, probably not. Like, that's just the reality of kind of where we're living right now. So like, I don't know. It's kind of like a rock and a hard place sometimes.
Yeah, it's this is a conversation we have many times. Social media, is it good or bad? Is it more bad? Is it more good? At the end of the day, it is what you make it. I think it's a very scandalous place, but it's a very helpful place. It's a good marketing tool. You can't really go anywhere, I feel like, in the industry anymore
without
social media.
Yeah.
But it's also so hard it is so hard to keep up on social media.
Yeah.
Without getting distracted by the things that don't necessarily matter.
Sure.
There's so many pieces of content created every single day.
Oh my gosh, yes.
It's like, how do I know? How do I navigate through all these forms?
And so one interesting thing, and I'm going to bring it back to the beginning of our conversation, actually. So like, I live in Amish country, right? And so they are craftsmen. The Amish are like experts at what they do. Are they social media users? No. Do they get a lot of sales and a lot of like attention for what they do? Yes. So there are ways to still like be successful in your world, in your line of work, without having to go the social media route.
This is true, but I think they both share a common denominator.
What's that?
Community.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, yep. I was going to mention that.
The most important thing in the world of Amish. I would say that, that economy grows because they all support each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard to be a craftsman alone. It's very hard to be an artist alone.
Sure.
Right? It's very hard to get anywhere in life without someone else kind of helping you and building you up and bringing you with them. And
the Amish also have a reputation. So like, some of that is just like maybe there is like this online world of like, oh, the Amish and the craftsmen, and like, let's go visit. So like, even if it's not them explicitly on social media, they just have this reputation. But like you said, this community that they have where they can lift each other up, they build like facilities for each other. They give each other resources. There's so much there that's so amazing that I envy tremendously. That they can then have that community that we are trying to get online. Which is a better community? Maybe another discussion. But that is a form of community, and probably the more like original form of community. It's just this interpersonal community, as opposed to this vast network, this wide net that is social media. And also, what we do leads to social media because it's digital in nature. What they do is not digital in nature. It's tangible. It's physical. They have a showroom. People can like come and see it and feel it and like see the quality. You really can't do that with a podcast. People aren't going to come to you and like see and feel, the quality of your podcast. You need to put it out there.
And you send you a link.
Yes. Yeah. So they're different avenues. There's parallels. But they're similar goals.
Absolutely. We got one last thing.
Okay, yes.
It's definitely been a great conversation, and it's really cool that we came full circle. But I don't wanna leave here without knowing what you brought, because you brought something, and I don't know what it is.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I mentioned all the hobbies that I've kind of getting into. This next hobby is something I've been wanting to do for a long time. It almost kind of leads back to the necklace jewelry that I make. Graphic design, I love it. I love patterns. I love shapes. This interest I've had leads so well into the graphic design world, almost similar to this. But this is like a real hot subject at the moment.
I'm so intrigued right now, man. There was such a build-up.
Such a build-up. Okay, so this is a prototype. This is a game called Patches. I know, right? This is a prototype. And even when I open, I can already hear like some stuff are kind of.
Wait, this is a game?
This is a game. I love games. Oh my gosh, if we could talk about games, but we don't have the time. Games are fascinating to me. I don't know if you ever played any of my games that
There was one I heard about, but I didn't get around to playing it yet. But next time I'm down, we have to.
I love making games.
Maybe we even do a video on one of your games.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that'd be fun. The interactivity of it, the connection of it. There's so many cool things there. So this is laser cut. Well, this is an engraving, but this is a laser cut project. Laser cutting uses graphics. So like Illustrator.
Right.
And I do graphic design. It just made so much sense that like my graphic design, I want to essentially print them out. This was more like graphic design was inspiration for this. This is almost a one-for-one, like, oh, these graphics you made, just like let's cut them out and have a physical version of kind of what you created. So cool. Oh my gosh, so much fun. I'm gonna like geek out about it, like I did the necklaces, but I'll spare you. So the idea here is this game was they're cut with multiple sheets here. So I think there's 5 pieces in here. The top, the front and back are just covers, and the 3 ones in the middle are kind of where the pieces are, and they're kind of sandwiched in here. So I kind of created these little tabs. I don't know if you can see them. They're tabs that kind of sandwich them together, and so all the pieces are in here. Now this has some issues, and I'm still sort of brainstorm some solutions to this, but the idea is that you take these kind of clamps off.
Oh, we're busting it out.
I'm like nervous. Okay, so, and these are the pieces that are inside. I don't know whether you can see it. So this is one layer, and then there's 2 more layers underneath it. Now you may have noticed too that like, and I wanted to design this very intentionally, that the same layer that it was cut out will also double as storage. So this is the same piece it was cut out of. Normally you would like throw the negative space away, but like you can then use it to then store the pieces. So I'm going to take this piece off, and then there's another layer underneath it.
Oh geez.
And then I'm going to take another layer off, and then so there's 3 layers to this game, and it's kind of like a mahjong style game where you take the top pieces and you're just building kind of like a board in front of you, and you're just trying to create the largest rectangle. Whoever has the largest solid rectangle wins. It's pretty simple, and if we were to like sit down and start playing it, I think it would make sense very quickly. But I also just wanted to kind of be like a fun, like kind of coffee table, visually interesting kind of like design. So these are all the negative pieces. So I get to keep these and use these as like storage.
Yeah.
It's a little finicky trying to get them all in place. So I'm still trying to figure that out. But also like I cut out like each piece so they're kind of like, they're see-through.
Those are pretty creative.
I know. And so I had a lot of fun designing these. Each one has like a different, this one's circles, this is triangles, squares. And then they all kind of have a different kind of pattern. And then I stain them a different color. And so in the game, like the pieces, the same color can't touch each other. So there's some mechanics to it and kind of part of the strategy. And it's just fun. They're fun to play with. They're visually kind of.
Let me see this. I'm going to try to not mess it up.
But, it's okay. Like it's already messed up because like if you bump it, they go out of like these very specific confined spaces. So it's like.
Yeah, that's gotta be a pain to put away, though.
I know, and so like I said, it's a prototype. Some people think I should just put it into a box. Maybe that would make more sense. I really like the idea.
Wow, that was the worst color to pick.
Yeah, the red on the red. Yeah,
that's really interesting.
I like the idea of like using this as like a storage thing. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. I think there's something kind of cool there. It like leads to that whole like laser cut feel.
As we kind of wrap this up, here's what I thought you were pulling out. I thought this was like a game with like strings. And I thought you were gonna have to like track strings from one side to the other.
Oh,
like
interesting.
You were gonna have to make patches out of strings.
Okay.
I don't know.
That was kind of what came out, maybe because it's a little similar to kind of more the lighter stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Gotcha.
I like the abstract art form.
Yes, very geometric, very abstract. And it's kind of a similar idea with like these windows, this negative space. I've always kind of been drawn to that.
Very Tetrisy.
Yeah, very Tetrisy. You're right. So this is just one of so many different things.
I'm fascinated by this, by the way.
Thank you.
If you're listening, I'm sorry that you can't see this,
Mm.
but this is very fascinating to me. I think I'd like to see how this actual game mechanic works. Obviously.
Sure. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't think we have the time for it today. But this looks very fun. Let's get one last little look here.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. That is really
Yeah.
fire.
So I'm hoping maybe to make this into a Kickstarter one day. So keep an eye out for that, I guess.
Yeah. Let us know. We'll throw it up on the channel.
Okay, that'd be awesome. I've already tried one Kickstarter. It didn't work out. Maybe this one would be a little bit better since I'm making it myself. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But thank you for showcasing this. I'm always a little embarrassed showing stuff that I've made because I never know what'll come of it. And so much stuff out there.
See, this is what I'm saying. If it doesn't matter to you, not matter, but if you don't let it bother you, it's way easier to show people.
I guess so.
You
but
know?
then
Because if you love it, I love it.
how much emotionally invested do I get into it if it never goes anywhere?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I guess it's at the end of the day, it's a preferential thing.
Yeah.
Can you say that? Is that a word? Preferential?
Preferential?
Preferential.
That's a word.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, not that it doesn't matter. It's all about how you interpret other people's feelings and how you interpret other people's opinion.
Oh man.
What does it matter to you? You know,
Yeah.
Finishing it off pretty heavy, but
yeah. Well, it's kind of like a big theme of what we've been talking about this podcast.
yeah. I mean, I think it's cool.
Yeah.
I think it's I don't know the actual mechanics of the game,
Sure.
but I will say I
It's interesting looking.
I wasn't ready for what you were. I was like, oh, this is like I'm gonna take strings and I'm gonna
Yeah. Mhm.
X, Y, Z, try to make a cool pattern or block someone else's string or I didn't know what to expect, and this is cool. I like this. I think this is interesting. Now, do I think everyone would find it interesting? No. I think you have to be a game lover, a
Sure.
board game lover. I think you have to be a more traditional enjoyer of art. Ultimately, it's cool, man.
Yeah.
You do you.
But can I make money? That's what it's all about. It's all about money, Johnny. I'm glad we came to this and came to the conclusion it's all about
And that's
money.
the episode.
That's the episode, folks. Go make that money.
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter to make money. Though. Let's
It
also be
does.
clear that is a big aspect of what we do.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's harder to make money if you only make that the motivation.
Well, oh my gosh. So we should wrap it up. But I will say, there are so many important things out there that make money that people aren't passionate about, but they still were very useful. How many people were passionate about a can opener? Maybe some. I just think that was a functional thing that made a lot of money then.
Well, I think it has to. I think to make money, you need two things: you need passion and you need necessity.
Yeah, is art a necessity?
Yes.
Yeah, I would say so.
Emotion is a necessity. And
Yeah.
art allows us to express emotion and feel emotion.
But if you're in a bunker, you're gonna want that can opener more than you're gonna want this.
I don't think so. I actually disagree with that.
But if you don't have a can opener, you're gonna die.
No.
It's like
If I don't have basic
your
human
needs.
interaction, I'm probably gonna not make it out.
Sure, but the functionality of being able to eat
insane.
and drink.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
See, but you don't need you don't need a can opener for that. You could.
If you have a bunch of cans you can't open them, you're gonna die.
Well, it's not. That's a can't opener then. We could talk for so long. I think we need to wrap it up though. Thank you so much for coming on. Where can we find you? I guess that's not a very good question since you don't have social media.
And
you don't post much, so I can't follow it. But
I kind of have I have a Facebook page for my board games.
Yeah, let's shout that out, man.
Age Old Games.
Age Old Games.
That's on Facebook. I do have a website. It's needs updated. All that type of stuff. That has my previous Kickstarter game on there, but age-old games is kind of like the avenue you would find probably this game as well. So that could be something. Look for us on Facebook.
I'm gonna design the box.
Yeah, absolutely.
That'd
Well,
be fun.
this is supposed to be the box in a sense. So like I designed that. This is just
Yeah.
So I kind of want to keep it rustic and like put it in and kind of like it looks like it's like.
See, I imagine more of like a modern like fiberglass.
That'd be cool too. I'm trying to keep my costs down though. Like a part
Fair.
of this is like
Fair.
I want this to be just the wood and stain, and I can keep my costs down. My margins would be better.
Shark Tank, here we come.
So yeah, Shark Tank.
Absolutely. So we'll have a link for that in the
Sweet, yeah, that'd be
description of
awesome.
this video.
Yeah,
We'll keep following you. Let us know when you get that Kickstarter going.
yeah.
I'll throw it up as well.
Now that I have it out there, I have to stick to it.
Yeah, now you have to commit. I hope you
They're gonna
understand.
come knocking on my door.
Yeah, this is gonna go viral, man. People are gonna come crawling for this game. Well, that's gonna wrap it up for this episode of the Chicken for Breakfast podcast. Ryan, it was great having you. Thanks
Oh
for
my
being
gosh,
here.
this is so much fun. I've always wanted to be on a podcast. And I love that I got to be on a podcast with you, the host, for my first podcast.
Absolutely.
You do a really good job of asking questions and keeping people engaged.
You know, I was thinking about halfway through, by the way, that you were also pretty hosty in there. No, it was good. It was good because you were like, "Hang on, let's bring this back to this other." It was good, man. You should definitely. I know you're a Renaissance man. I know how you feel about it. I would definitely look into, even just doing your own audio books. That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of fun. But anyways,
I have my list.
yeah, add it to the list of things to do.
Mhm.
But that's all the time that we have today. Thanks again for being here. And remember, chicken is a soul food.
And breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
So why not start your day out right with chicken for breakfast?
Amen. God bless everyone.
Indeed.